I was a dedicated lead trauma nurse who truly believed that every single human life was sacred, regardless of a person's bank balance or their standing in the local community. But the hospital's new CEO, Arthur Sterling, was a cold man who viewed human beings as nothing more than simple numbers on a massive corporate profit and loss spreadsheet every single day. Inside his vast, glass-walled office that overlooked the entire city, Arthur spent his hours planning how to turn a place of mercy into a high-priced playground for the wealthy elite only. He walked the sterile corridors with a calculated stride, treating me and the medical staff like invisible servants or expendable parts in a machine that he believed he owned completely. Arthur's arrogance was a slow-acting poison that began to seep through the wards, turning a place of hope into a landscape of fear where I and every doctor felt utterly replaceable. One humid afternoon, the tension finally reached a breaking point when I stood my ground, desperately advocating for a dying elderly patient who needed immediate life-saving emergency care in the ward. In a sudden display of unbridled power, Arthur's temper snapped completely. Without a word of warning, he lunged forward and slapped me across the face, the sound echoing loudly through the hallway. I stood motionless in the heavy silence of the locker room, the sharp sting on my cheek a physical reminder of the CEO's cruelty, but my mind was already moving toward a goal. I knew with a gut instinct that Arthur wasn't just a bully. I sensed a dark secret hidden beneath those expensive, tailored suits and those perfectly rehearsed fake smiles he gave to the public. That night, under the cover of shadows, I bypassed the security codes of the basement pharmacy. My heart hammered as I stepped into the cold room to uncover the truth about the medicine. Using my phone with steady hands, I captured high-resolution photos of the illicit, counterfeit shipments. These were the very drugs Arthur was using to launder millions of dollars in dirty, blood-stained cash. The very next morning, Arthur called me into his office, not to apologize but to humiliate me. With a smug sneer, he handed me a cold, formal termination letter, ending my career. I didn't beg for my job or raise my voice in anger. I simply packed my belongings into a small box and walked out of the hospital doors into a sudden. In my dim apartment, surrounded by the mountain of digital evidence I had gathered, I realized that my personal fight for justice was not over. In fact, it was only just beginning. I met a federal contact at a lonely, rainy bus stop, handing over the digital drive that contained the secrets of Arthur's empire, knowing I had just released a ghost into the machine. Meanwhile, Arthur was preparing for his biggest night, being fitted into a tuxedo that cost more than I could earn in a whole year of grueling double shifts at the busy hospital. The Sterling Global Gala was the talk of the town, with the city's elite arriving in long limousines to celebrate Arthur's success, unaware of the criminal darkness hiding behind the bright lights. I stood in the deep shadows across the street, my hood pulled low, watching the powerful man enter the hotel, knowing that the clock was finally ticking down to the very last second. On the grand stage, bathed in golden spotlights, Arthur held his trophy high, laughing and soaking in the fake praise of people who only valued the thickness of his heavy, gold-filled wallet. But just as he began his victory speech, the lights began to flicker. The giant screen behind him suddenly changed, showing a video that Arthur never expected to see in front of his guests. The ballroom went cold as Arthur's own voice echoed through the speakers, discussing the secret deals for the dangerous, fake medicines that had put so many innocent lives at risk for profit. Arthur's face turned as pale as a ghost as he looked back at the screen, realizing that his entire world was collapsing in front of the very people he wanted to impress most. The crowd's cheers turned into whispers of horror as the guests saw the truth. The man they were celebrating was nothing more than a criminal who traded human lives for more power. Panic flared as the heavy ballroom doors were kicked open, and federal agents flooded the room with their badges held high, moving quickly toward the stage to end the CEO's long reign. Arthur tried to push through the crowd to escape, but he was pinned against the wall by the cold reality of the law, his expensive tuxedo tearing in the desperate, messy struggle. The sound of metal handcuffs snapping shut over his wrists was the loudest thing in the room, finally silencing Arthur's desperate, angry screams as he was led away in front of everyone. I stepped into the ballroom, wearing my clean nurse scrubs, standing tall and silent as I watched the police lead the broken CO away, knowing that justice had finally been served tonight. Outside in the lashing rain, Arthur was forced into the back of a police cruiser, the blue and red lights mocking his ruined reputation as he looked out at the city he lost. I stood on the sidewalk, watching the sirens fade into the distance, finally feeling a sense of deep peace I hadn't known in months, knowing the hospital was finally safe from greed. The next morning, the hospital felt different. The giant, arrogant posters of Arthur were being torn down by the very staff members he had bullied, replaced by a feeling of new hope. I returned to the hospital, not as a victim, but as a leader invited by the board to help restore the institution's lost integrity and bring back the true spirit of healing. The pharmacy was immediately purged of the dangerous fakes, replaced with high-quality medicine that would actually save the lives of the people who came to the hospital seeking help and care. Behind the thick glass of a prison visiting room, Arthur sat in an orange jumpsuit, realizing too late that his money couldn't buy him a second chance or a way out of prison. I opened a new clinic in the heart of the city, a place where the poor and the forgotten could receive the best medical care for free, just as I always dreamed. I sat in a quiet park, finally able to read a book and enjoy the sun without the weight of Arthur's shadow hanging over me, feeling the warmth of a life well lived. Every newspaper in the country carried the headline of the CEO's downfall, but I kept my old ID card as a simple reminder of the long journey I had taken for justice. I spent my afternoons in the hospital's new rooftop garden, watching life grow in a place that had almost been destroyed by corporate greed, feeling proud of the community we built. In his prison cell, Arthur was forced to scrub the floors, finally learning the true value of the hard work and humility he used to look down upon during his wealthy days. I shared a simple meal with my fellow nurses, our genuine laughter filling the ward that was once a place of fear and cold silence under the rule of the former CEO. I mentored young medical students, teaching them that a stethoscope is a tool for service and mercy, not a badge of superior social status or a way to earn more money. Standing on the hospital rooftop at night, I looked at the city lights, knowing that I had kept my promise to my patients and myself to always protect the life of others. A new plaque was placed in the lobby, dedicated not to a single man, but to the spirit of every person who chooses to care for the sick and the needy every day. The hospital looked so calm and beautiful, a sanctuary of peace that was no longer haunted by the shadows of greed. The sterile glass that once felt like a prison now reflected the soft, glowing colors of the evening sky. I walked out of my final shift that day, stepping into the warm, golden embrace of the setting sun. As the orange light washed over the hospital walls, I realized that the battle I fought wasn't just about one corrupt man or a pile of stolen money. It was about the soul of this profession. The world may be full of people who try to sell their conscience for a golden trophy, but they will never know the peace of a person who sleeps with a clean heart. And I finally know, without a shadow of a doubt, that justice is the best medicine the world has ever known. Thanks for watching.